9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning. My name is Chris Hand. Yes, it is true. The rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. I'm back. I'm back after what feels like 2 weeks away.
Glad to have you, man.
I'm glad to be here, and I apologize for the way things worked out. I feel like I owe you guys an apology.
We're scared.
I mean, it was like 2 weeks ago. I was filling in for Dan. He had that new grandbaby coming in. And then I was back on my show that Wednesday.
Yeah.
And you remember, I was on the struggle bus.
You're a little under the weather.
That Wednesday.
Just a little bit.
And by the time I had gotten home after my show that Wednesday, my voice had just completely escaped my body.
Just shot?
Gone.
Holy cow.
I've never lost my voice like that ever.
And that's a little hard for radio, for sure.
It doesn't actually translate well. I probably,
it's like,
if I was working in a factory, I probably could have pushed through. You know? But
I was like, Super Talk TV would have been fine. You could hold up signs.
Yeah,
Orange Man.
Good. Remember when they had that viral trend where the people would just hold up the signs and just do the music and they would I could have done that.
It would have been a very long 3 hours.
Yeah, I could have done that. It wouldn't have worked out. And then, so I was off Thursday and Friday because I was out sick. And then the very following week, I had a scheduled vacation.
Much needed. Much needed.
I'm grateful that I had it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I feel bad about having to be out sick. I don't feel bad about my vacation time.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't feel bad about having good time with the family.
It was an awesome time with the family. So this was like our first vacation where the kids are homeschooled.
Oh, yeah.
So we got to do homeschooling stuff while we're on vacation.
Interesting.
So taking my boys to the Wright Brothers Museum and
cool.
the field where the first flight happened in the Outer Banks in North Carolina was just fantastic. And we had good family time. We had clam strips and seafood and all that kind of stuff. So it was great. It was great. But I'm back, and I'm very excited to be back. Especially on this Columbus Day. Happy Columbus Day. Do people say Happy Columbus Day anymore?
I don't think they say. I don't think they use Columbus. I think they
it's
trade out for
Indigenous People Day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with Columbus Day.
I don't know.
I'm gonna stick with Columbus Day, and I'll tell you why. Because Kamala Harris doesn't want to stick with Columbus Day at all. Kamala Harris is very anti-Columbus Day, and I don't know. I'm gonna go the other way. I actually I like Columbus Day.
It used to be a nice day off. I used to look forward to it in a nice regard.
People used to get Columbus Day off. Now it's Indigenous People Day, and nobody gets a day off. Nobody gets a day off. It's that weird.
We need to shift some things around again.
Yeah, we gotta make some moves.
Wait a second.
I will say this. My guys over at Turning Point, I dabble and do some stuff with Turning Point.
Yeah.
They have Columbus Day off.
So that means you get your afternoon off,
I have my afternoon back. I have my afternoon back. Kamala Harris, she wanted to remind everybody that European explorers ushered in a wave of devastation, violence, stealing land, and widespread disease. This is her talking about Columbus Day.
It is an honor, of course, to be with you this week as we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day.
Columbus Day.
As we speak truth about our nation's history. Since 1934, every October, the United States has recognized the voyage of the European explorers who first landed on the shores of the Americas. But that is not the whole story. That has never been the whole story. Those explorers ushered in a wave of devastation for tribal nations, perpetrating violence, stealing land, and spreading disease.
Yeah, okay. Let's also point out the fact that those explorers ushered in an era of just absolute dominance, right? Technologically, just what we've been able to accomplish since we were founded as a nation, like this woman. Let's focus on the negatives. And Kamala's down in the polls. She's got to do something. She's grasping at straws. Is this going to really pull people in? For those middle of the road voters, is going on TV and demonizing Christopher Columbus and the explorers that found the country going to help out? I don't know. Maybe. I don't see it happening. But the Harris campaign has to do something. Last week when I was out, I did notice that there was a media blitz happening. Kamala was sitting down with everyone and anyone. It was quite funny to watch. because as she's sitting down on The View, Joe Biden is counter-programming her and giving a White House press briefing. Oh, that's strange, you know. And while she's on The View, Kamala Harris essentially wrote a Trump ad, you know, gave them the video, the audio for the latest Trump ad.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Nope. Actually, I wouldn't change a darn thing. She's trying to distance herself from Joe Biden while not distancing herself from Joe Biden. It's got to be a tough time to be Kamala Harris, does it not? I almost feel bad for this puppet in a pantsuit. I do. Almost. Almost. But the polls don't look good. They don't look good for Kamala Harris at all. And this is what they're showing us. So I can only imagine that the internal numbers are even worse. In an NBC poll, Trump has caught up by Kamala. Trump is tied with Harris at 48% and leads in an expanded ballot with third-party candidates. Uh-oh. Panic alarms. Now, mind you, before the media blitz happened, they were privy to these numbers, right? And so the panic alarms were already ringing inside the Democrat establishment. And then you see Wall Street Journal poll. Trump leads Kamala by 1 in the swing states that are too close to call. I spent all week in North Carolina. I didn't meet many Kamala Harris supporters. I did wear my MAGA hat everywhere I went, hoping for that conversation. It never came, but I was extra polite to everybody in that swing state while I wore my MAGA hat, and I held the doors, and I was polite. I used my manners, all the things. And you look at what's happening in the swing states, they have to be freaking out, right? On October 14th in 2020, okay, just so let's take it back a little bit. October 14th, 2020, 4 years ago. Joe Biden, in a Real Clear Politics national polling average, had a plus 10 lead over Donald Trump. A plus 10. If you want to take things at face value, which I know most of our audience doesn't want to do, and I don't either, to be perfectly honest with you, but Trump lost the election in 2020 by 42,000 ballots across 3 states. So, if you look at the polling numbers, that was when Joe was up by 10. It's not good. It's not good. Today, after new polls from NBC, ABC, CBS, all moving up in Trump's favor, Kamala is plus 1.7 in the Real Clear Politics average. It's her lowest lead in weeks. Trump is at his best polling position ever at this exact time of the race, whether it was against Joe Biden in 2020 or Hillary Clinton in 2016. Trump is in the best position ever. It's a good thing. I like coming back to work with good news. Doesn't it feel good? Do you feel the momentum on our side? The momentum is absolutely there. One of the most critical swing states is Pennsylvania. And in just the last 2 weeks, I mean, we've had the Wall Street Journal had Trump up 1. Insider Advantage had Trump up 2 in Pennsylvania. Emerson, Trump up 1. Hunt, Trump up 1. Trafalgar, Trump up 2. Atlas Intel, Trump up 3. Patriot Polling, Trump up 1. It's not good. It's not good if you are Kamala Harris. It's not. And Trump's message is resonating. Kamala Harris goes out there and says, listen, these European explorers ushered in death and disease, and people just don't care. We don't have time for this. We can't afford groceries. On the flip side, Trump's message is about putting American citizens first, and this is why Trump is way up. Trump was talking about this yesterday in Arizona.
Under the Trump administration, we will put American citizens first, American children first, American patients first, American taxpayers first, American workers first, and American communities first. We will put them first. We love those people. And we will put communists, Marxists, and fascists last. And we'll keep them there, too. We're going to put them last and keep them there.
That message resonates with the American people, especially when you see what's happening in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, where it seems like American citizens can't get any help from the federal government. You've heard the stories. You've read the stories. You've seen the video. It's all over social media. People can't get help. But they got plenty of money to send to the Lebanese who are affected by war with Israel. They have plenty of money to send to Ukraine. They have plenty of money to move illegal aliens into your neighborhood. Kamala Harris gets on TV and says, hey, these European explorers, they were pretty evil. You remember that? I think the current administration's actually pretty evil with what you're doing to the American people. But right now, every indicator, every metric that we have, I don't know if you feel like this. I feel like Trump is headed towards a landslide. When you look at the things like party ID, voter registration, public polling, internal polling, is it becoming too big to rig? I feel like it's becoming too big to rig. Even the guys over at CNN echoed this statement. When it comes to party ID average nationally, it doesn't look good for the Democrats.
All right, so party ID nationally. You go to October, November of 2016, Democrats had a 3-point advantage. You go 4 years ago, Democrats had a 6-point advantage. Look at where we are today, Manu. Republicans with a 1-point advantage.
So when he was up against Hillary in October, November 2016, people who self-identified as Democrats had a +3 lead. What happened in that election? Exactly. In October, November of 2020, people who identified as Democrats had a +6 lead. We know what happened in that election. But today, August, September 2024, Republicans have a +1 lead. Do you smell that? That's panic.
A very different picture, very much mirroring what we see in the party registration numbers in those key battleground states, and Pennsylvania in particular.
It actually just shows you, too, why Harris is doing what she's trying to do. She's trying to moderate a little bit on these issues, trying to reach those very voters, because the party registration is changing and the demographics of the voters are changing. And those are the people she needs to attract.
Absolutely. And you know, the GOP leads by a point in party identification right now. The average when the Republican Party loses is the Democrats ahead by 8. When the Republican Party wins, the average party ID advantage for Democrats is 3. Republicans right now, Manu, are doing even better than the average when they win. If there's one little nugget that I think Republicans are really hopeful for, it's this party ID and this party registration data. It really points in a good direction for them.
It really points in a good direction for them and for Donald Trump. The average party ID when the Republican Party loses is a Democrat +8. The average party ID when the Republican Party wins is Democrat +3. Today we are sitting at Republican +1. This has to freak them out, right? It's gotta. Trump drawing about 100,000 people to Coachella in California, that's gotta freak them out, right? It's gotta. Trump everywhere over the weekend. Aurora, Colorado on Friday. Coachella on Saturday. He was in Arizona on Sunday. The man can't stop. He won't stop. He's not going to stop. But Kamala Harris and her campaign, they have a new claim. They have a new claim. They're claiming that Trump is hiding. Trump is hiding. Yep. They say he's too weak and unstable to lead America. Okay. That's a hot take. I'll play you what Kamala Harris said at her campaign stop in North Carolina when we get back. It's 9:21. My name is Chris Hand. So happy to be back with you here on the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live. Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Coming up at 9:30, how the Pentagon is lending a hand to Israel as it continues to come under attack. And what's behind a decision to change fourth quarter songs at Neyland Stadium? Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 926 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, back where I am supposed to be, here in the chair, 9 to noon. Very happy to be back. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. So the Kamala campaign is just imploding. They're imploding. They're imploding. I think that's the only way you can put it. And when you hear Kamala Harris talking about Donald Trump in North Carolina, it really puts the exclamation point on the implosion. Implosion! See how that it sounds different with the exclamation point? Kamala claims Trump staff wants to hide him away. Huh. It's a weird take. They say that she says that people are afraid that he's too weak and unstable to lead America. Hot take from Kamala Harris incoming. This is her in North Carolina over the weekend.
He is unwilling to do a 60 Minutes interview.
Well, he knows that they're not going to edit it in his favor like they did for you. Also, 60 Minutes, they're not going to release the transcript. Yeah, maybe it's on the editing room floor. I got 4 seconds into that clip before I had to stop and correct the record on Kamala Harris, for the record. It feels good to be back. 4 seconds, that's all it took me.
He is unwilling to do a 60 Minutes interview. Like every other major party candidate has done for more than half a century. He is unwilling to meet for a second debate. And here's the thing. It makes you wonder. Why does his staff want him to hide away?
It's a good use of sad violin right there.
I thought it fit a little too well.
It fit really well.
I thought she was complaining a little too much.
Yeah, I like the sad. You got to throw it in when it fits.
Yeah.
You know, his staff is worried about him. He won't do a 60 Minutes interview. Oh. He's
So
hiding.
sad.
He's hiding.
He won't face the audience. He won't face the news.
He's too afraid to do a debate. But here's where it goes off the rails. That they're going to start demanding medical records from Donald Trump.
One must question, are they afraid that people will see that he is too weak and unstable to lead America? Is that what's going on? So folks, for these reasons and so many more, it is time to turn the page.
Yeah, we do need to turn the page. We need to turn the page away from Kamala Harris and this radical leftist regime. It is time to turn the page. The projection from the left. He won't even do an interview. What were people clamoring for months from Kamala Harris to do? an interview. When did she decide to do the interviews? Oh, when her internal polling tanked. When the joy left the room. When the momentum left the balloon. Oh, now she's going to do interviews. 60 Minutes covered for Kamala as best they could. They took word salad and they made what they could of it. And she's going to go on the stump on the campaign trail in North Carolina and say, Trump is afraid. He's afraid. Well, Trump isn't afraid. Trump was in Aurora, Colorado Friday. He was in Coachella, California on Saturday. He was in Arizona on Sunday doing interviews every step of the way. He was actually interviewing with Maria Bartiromo over the weekend. And now he's going to be going on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's afraid. He's hiding. His staff doesn't want to see how weak and unstable he is. Okay. So he's going to sit down for what? Maybe a 2 or 3 hour interview with Joe Rogan that's not going to be edited at all? Yeah, a scared staff would absolutely let that happen. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 9:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're at 56, and we're headed to a sunny high of 66 later today. Stick around for the forecast. The Pentagon taking action after a Hezbollah drone attack that killed 4 Israeli soldiers and injured more than 60 people.
The Pentagon announced that it's sending an advanced missile defense system to Israel, along with 100 U.S. troops to operate the system. It's the first deployment of U.S. forces to Israel since the October 7th attacks last year, and it comes ahead of Israel's expected retaliation against Iran for a missile attack earlier this month.
That's ABC's Christiane Cordero. A woman missing from her Wilson County home for several days is the subject of an intense search today. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issuing a silver alert for 69-year-old Patricia Hansen. She was last seen on Tuesday, October 8th in the Carthage Highway area of Lebanon, wearing a black jogging suit and black flip-flops. Now, she's described as 5 feet 4 inches tall, 120 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. They're asking that you call the Wilson County Sheriff's Office if you have information about her whereabouts. Tennessee has stopped playing Friends in Low Places from Garth Brooks during the fourth quarter at Neyland Stadium. It's now Morgan Wallen's The Way I Talk. Now, it's not clear if the decision was made to favor the Vols superfan, Morgan Wallen, or if it was to distance themselves from Garth Brooks in the wake of sexual assault claims filed against him. The switch was made Saturday night at the start of the fourth quarter of Tennessee's game against Florida. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stocks are all in the positive territory now, with the Dow Jones up 33, the Nasdaq is gaining 178, and the S&P 500 index up 40 points. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. It's 9:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I'm here for my friends at United Structural Systems. When the rain comes through, if you're noticing water in your crawl space, water in your basement, any moisture creeping in, it is time to call the pros at USS. Listen, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where something that was a small problem gets way, way worse because you're neglecting it. And you could get some good news that this is just a small problem with a quick fix, but you're not going to know unless you call my friends at United Structural Systems. They're your waterproofing experts. They've been doing this since 1994 in Middle Tennessee, and they're not going anywhere. If you're noticing standing water in your crawl space, wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors, that's your house trying to tell you something. Call the guys who are fluent in house, United Structural Systems. They'll tell you if it's a big problem. They'll tell you if it's a small problem. They'll tell you if it's nothing. 615-488-7855. This is how they've gained 25,000 satisfied customers. 615-488-7855. Get an honest look, an honest quote from USS today online at USSTN.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, You put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
.938 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Kamala claiming that Trump's staff wants to hide him away. They got to hide him. They're nervous. He's too weak. He's too unstable. That's what Kamala said in North Carolina over the weekend.
He is unwilling to do a 60 Minutes interview.
Yeah, because they're not going to edit it in his favor.
Like every other major party candidate has done for more than half a century. He is unwilling to meet for a second debate.
Well, I mean, he agreed to one on Fox News a while back, and she didn't take him up on it. So there's that. Also, calling for a second debate, doesn't that kind of imply you lost the first one? The loser usually calls for the rematch, right? Asking for a friend.
And here's the thing. It makes you wonder. Why does his staff want him to hide away? One must question. Are they afraid that people will see that he is too weak and unstable to lead America?
Yeah, all right. That's Kamala Harris in North Carolina over the weekend. Are you afraid? Are you afraid that people are going to see he's too weak and unstable? This woman's a nut job. Can we just, is that okay? Is that okay to say? She's a nut. She's crazy. The projection is unreal. And the left has just been imploding. They've been imploding all weekend long. It was Meet the Press on NBC. Kristen Welker was really grilling Speaker Johnson about why the medical records for Donald Trump won't be released.
Speaker,
That's what people are going to vote on.
Just to be very clear, he hasn't released all of his medical records. He released 2 letters. Should he release the results of the cognitive test?
It's unnecessary. He's on display every minute.
So it's unnecessary. You can see that he didn't release his medical records. You don't want to know things like his cholesterol level, whether he's dealing with any issue that we may not know about, if he's going to be commander-in-chief. And he also said he would release cognitive tests.
Listen to your question.
Should he release that?
The American people, Kristen, the American people don't care about the cholesterol level of Donald Trump. They
Right? Yeah. They're grasping for straws. Kristen Welker, well, what about Trump's cholesterol level? Don't the American people have a right to know? Don't they have a right to know? Yeah. Okay. All right. If this is the road we're going down. The left, who spent the last 3.5 years understanding that Joe Biden was rapidly descending into a vegetative state and thought it was fine, didn't ask any questions about it. Now they want to know about Trump's medical history and his cholesterol levels and his cognitive tests. This is what it sounds like when desperation is reaching maximum levels. They're freaking out behind the scenes. They're freaking out. And there's a number of reasons why. A number of reasons. I mean, we went through the party ID. We understand that voter registration is heavily favoring Republicans. There's public polling that is really looking good for Donald Trump, better than it's ever looked in any presidential race he's ever been in at this time. You also have great internal polling or negative internal polling for the Kamala team, and they're freaking out. Now, one of the reasons is that Kamala is losing black voter support. I've been early on this train for a long time. I don't think it's just a Kamala thing. I think it's a Democrat thing. Democrats are losing black male voter support. And the decline is catastrophic. A recent poll found Harris is facing a significant gap pertaining to black voters. When compared to the group's support of Joe Biden in 2020, Harris is lagging way behind, according to the New York Times Siena College poll. They reported this on Saturday. Nearly 8 out of 10 black voters nationwide say they would vote for Miss Harris, the poll found. But that's a marked increase from the 74% of black voters who said they would support Biden before he dropped out of the race in July. But Mr. Biden won 90% of black voters. 90. So this is catastrophic for them. It's catastrophic. It's so bad that they even had to trot Obama out last week to sit down the brothers and give them a tough talk. This is how he puts it, not me. Obama at a Harris Waltz campaign center last week in Pennsylvania.
Communities is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
That's okay. It's more pronounced with the brothers. Now, I don't know if this is a black male voter thing or if this is just a male voter thing. I think that the Democrat Party has an issue with the male vote. And I think that that's what this really breaks down to, because you see, I don't know about you, but me as a male, I can speak to this. I don't want tampons in the elementary school boys' room. I don't want men competing against my daughters in athletics. I think that the Democrat Party is really having a male voter problem as opposed to a black male voter problem. But, you know, leave it to Obama to have that hard conversation with the brothers.
So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly.
He's also speaking to them at a Harris Waltz campaign center. He's not going out and meeting people where they are. He's talking to people that are already on the team and then releasing the video.
And say that when you have a choice that is this clear.
Is it this clear?
When on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences. Who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
And that's where the clip cuts out that's been circulating on the internet. But imagine, if you will, if there was another former president who essentially went out there and said exactly what Obama is saying. Obama's saying you got to vote for Harris because she's black like you're black. Imagine if there was another former president going out there saying, well, you got to vote for Trump because he's white like you're white. It would be deemed as just racist and evil and preposterous. But Obama can get away with this. This is what panic looks like. This is what desperation looks like. They're sending out Obama again. They sent out Bill Clinton again. You got, and again, I don't think it's a black vote thing. I think it's a male vote thing. And you'll see they're trying to court male voters. Tim Walz over the weekend, he went pheasant hunting. He got his shotgun. He couldn't load it right. And even MSNBC saw Tim Walz pheasant hunting and said, guys, this is kind of silly.
A few moments ago, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz was out pheasant hunting in Sleepy Eye, Minnesota, taking part in the 12th annual Governor's Pheasant Hunting Opener. This comes, friends, as we know that they're going to have Walz doing sort of a blitz, reaching out to men, young men, voters they know, 50-50 swing vote. They know they need to get them.
Yeah. You got to get the men. We got to get the men. Democrats spent every day, every hour, every minute for the last 3.5 years or longer demonizing men in general, blaming men for all of society's issues. And now they're going to spend this 6 months leading up to the election, posing with rifles and saying, I'm a gun owner. And what did Kamala Harris do? She went on the Colbert Report and she drank a beer on TV. Woo! I'm just like you guys. I'm just like you. Except you're not. And it doesn't fit. I think that they have a male voter problem, not a black male voter problem. That's just me. Scott Jennings on CNN, he made the point that Democrats, a lot of men think that Democrats care more about dudes who want to become women than dudes who want to be dudes.
I think the polling this morning and the week, I think David's right. It was a rough week. I mean, her faves are down. They're struggling with, the front page of the New York Times this morning, front page story, Democrats struggling with African-American voters, particularly African-American men. This gender gap issue is real. It's a real problem, and you see the Democrats reacting to it. And I think what they are now finally in October of the election coming to realize is that a lot of men think Democrats care more about dudes who want to become women than dudes who just want to be dudes.
Well,
and no hunting, cosplay, or cringy videos is going to change it. The bet is made.
Nothing is going to change that. The bet is made, Scott Jennings says on CNN, and he's right. He's right. That bet's made. That ship has sailed. And the cringy video he's talking about, oh my gosh. Did you see the cringy video? The Dudes for Harris video? Oh, it's a doozy. It's a doozy. I don't have enough time to play it here, but I'll play it for you when we get back. It's all these dudes who are so secure in their masculinity that they're going to vote for Harris. Have you seen this one?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but everything I've heard is just the
visuals that go along with it really paint the picture. And the visuals show a bunch of beta soy boys. I'll give you a play-by-play of the video, and I'll play you the audio next. It's something special, guys. It's something special. Hang out with us. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name's Chris Hand. I got to tell you about my friends at Kingdom Fence Company. They want their fence to tell the story of your land, and they put their faith in their company so you can put your faith in their fence. No matter what you need, residential, commercial, farm, agriculture, new, repair, insurance claims, they do it all. Chain link, privacy, vinyl, aluminum, dog fence, pool fence, board fence, any kind of fence you need, they'll make it happen for you. Kingdom Fence Company, 615-390-5891. Ask for Dave. He'll help you out. 615-390-5891. Kingdom Fence Company, LLC.com.
Up ahead here on Super Talk 99.7, we'll tell you what the polls are showing as we get closer to Election Day. And what's stopping police in Nashville from getting to the bottom of a weekend homecoming shooting? Those stories coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The Kamala campaign has released a new ad. Soy boys for Harris. Sorry, no. Dudes for Harris.
Soylent Pro for Harris.
Soylent Green. All right. So I feel bad. I feel bad playing this.
Hold on. Let me just take my headphones off real quick.
Take them off.
All right. You're good.
All right. So it's a bunch of dudes, and they're talking about how proud they are to vote for Kamala Harris. Now I'm gonna do some play-by-play on the visuals here, and I'm also gonna retweet the video on my X account at Chris Hand on Air, so that way you can see the visuals for yourself.
Unfortunately,
but they thought after producing this that they nailed it. You can only assume that they thought they nailed this. So this is the latest ad from the Kamala team. Soy boys for Harris.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
Okay, so that's how it starts. You got a guy in a workout room. You got a biker with crazy eyes, and you got a guy that looks like he's an overweight farmer.
And I'm man enough.
I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat. Man enough to cook my steak rare.
The guy that said he's man enough to cook his steak rare is he's sitting with his legs crossed and his hand on his thigh.
Pose for picture day in middle school.
Yeah, like it looks like a middle school picture day pose. Exactly.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
Guy looks like he eats a lot of breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears. That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women.
I'm not.
Okay. You get where this is going? We're manly men, and we're not afraid.
Not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it. They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want. Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like. Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like.
What is this? This is an ad from the Kamala team. Man enough to not ban women from reading Little Women or the pants books that the sisters like. Again, not addressing any of the porn in kids' libraries. Okay.
I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it.
I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids. In front of my horse. I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually. Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story. That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful. That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
And then there's a Harris Waltz campaign sign. Soy boys for Harris. You're going to want to see this video. I had to see it, so you have to see it. At Chris Hand on Air on Twitter. When we get back, I got some very, very smart women that I'm not afraid of. They're outside in the green room, and they want to talk about health insurance. Open enrollment is happening, but there are some pitfalls. There are some dangers. You don't want to get taken advantage of. So I enlisted, again, some smart women that I'm not afraid of to break things down for us. And we'll have a conversation with them when we get back. It's 10:01 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
56 degrees in the sunshine now. We're headed to 66 later. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 3 weeks and 1 day before Election Day, a new ABC News Ipsos poll offers a snapshot of the race and how Americans view the key issues. ABC News correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
A majority in the ABC News Ipsos survey, 56%, say that all immigrants in the country illegally should be deported. That's a 20 percentage point jump on that question in our polling from 8 years ago. Voters like several of the proposals Kamala Harris has brought to the table, such as a $6,000 per child tax credit, a $25,000 grant to first-time homebuyers, and even limits on grocery profits. They also like some of Trump's proposals, such as an end to taxes on Social Security benefits and expanded tariffs on imports.
Police say the shootout that played out on Jefferson Street near the Tennessee State University on Saturday is not any closer to being solved now. One person died, 9 others were injured when homecoming revelers on either side of the street began shooting at each other.
All I heard was a whole bunch of gunshots. Like, I was so close to it, I thought it was just fireworks, but it ended up being gunshots. And everybody was just running, and I started running, almost fell.
Police confirmed that 2 of the people hospitalized with gunshots are suspected to be involved, but they're refusing to be interviewed by police. A Lewisburg man is dead. 2 others rescued over the weekend after the boat they were riding in lost power and drifted into generators at a dam in Alabama. This happened on Wilson Lake, the Wheeler Dam area. The boat overturned. None of the 3 on board that boat were wearing life vests. 72-year-old Dennis Neal died. Another man and a 14-year-old were rescued. Crowds of tourists have been leaf peeping in New England, but they're accused of jamming up hiking trails and not taking precautions.
People just aren't bringing headlights, they're not bringing water, and they're just not prepared for the cold weather and what they're encountering out in the mountains right now.
Chris McKee is a conservation officer with the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department. He says there were several tourist rescues over the weekend. That's the latest news. Weather is still to come. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
10:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, joined in studio by some very smart women. My friend Pat, who goes to church with me, Kathleen, Dee, Andrea, and we're talking about Medicare and Medicare Advantage. The open enrollment is happening now, and Pat sent me an email and said, hey, you know, there's some things people need to know about. There's some red flags, some warnings that you need to let people know about. And I said, well, come on in and tell me firsthand. So Pat, I'll open with you. What do we need to be worried about as we're going into this open enrollment period with Medicare versus Medicare Advantage, I believe it's called?
Yes, first of all, thanks so much, Chris, for giving us this opportunity. We're in close to open enrollment, and there are a lot of our seniors think they have Medicare, but really they don't. They have a Medicare Advantage plan, and that's why I thought it would be important to have a panel. Kathleen can speak on if you need skilled nursing care after a hospital stay, if you have Medicare versus an Advantage plan. We can speak to the differences if you need home care with Medicare versus managed care. And then Dee is an independent insurance agent, so she deals with the Medicare Advantage plans and Medicare plans. Because we're not here to say that all Medicare Advantage plans are bad, because they're not. There are some people that plan is perfect for them, but there are a lot of other elderly people that it is not a good plan for them. So I think we just kind of want to look at those differences between the two plans.
So why wouldn't a Medicare Advantage plan be the right plan for somebody?
Well, I think I'm just going to say from a personal standpoint, things that have happened in my family. If you go into the hospital, say you've had a stroke, and then you have to go into a skilled nursing facility, you're limited to how many days you can stay in that skilled facility versus if you had a Medicare plan. Straight Medicare covers at 100% for the first 21 days. Managed care plans, typically after 7 days, you have to recert them, and oftentimes they will be declined. And Kathleen can speak to the differences between Medicare in a skilled facility versus managed care in a skilled facility.
Yeah, please explain that for me a little bit.
In a skilled nursing facility, when they come in, Medicare is going to pay the first 20 days, and then from the 21st to the 100th day, if they have a supplemental insurance, it's going to pay the co-insurance. If they have a Medicare Advantage plan, it's going to pay the first 20 days and then nothing after that. The patient is going to need to pay their co-insurance, which is going to be around $200 a day, $203 a day, until they have an out-of-pocket. Years ago, it was $3,700 a year. It's been $6,800 a year, and people are not prepared for that. So there's no right or wrong. It's just they need to be prepared that when they come in, there's going to be a big bill, where there isn't if there's Medicare and a supplement. And, for example, I'm beginning January 1, I'm choosing for myself Medicare and Farm Bureau Blue Cross, because with that, I won't pay a dime next year. Except for the small deductible, I will not pay a dime for any care that I need. If I went with an Advantage plan, I would have a lot of out-of-pocket cost, and I would rather go with the first. Also, with the Medicare Advantage plan, they approve them week to week or day to day, whereas with Medicare, there are guidelines, and the facility follows those guidelines to the best of their ability and makes the decisions on when they're going to be needing to end their service. But the Medicare Advantage plans, eke out those days a week at a time or a few days at a time. And it's a little harder, keeps families a little bit more torn up. Those are the biggest differences.
So if you're looking at this and you're going into open enrollment, what questions should you be asking yourself in regards to which plan is right for you?
What would be the cost? What would be the out-of-pocket cost? They're all going to pretty much cover the same things. But my out-of-pocket cost for Farm Bureau secondary to Medicare is going to be $111 a month. So for $111 a month, I don't worry about what my copay is going to be when I go in the hospital. Is it going to be $200 a day that I'm going to need to pay? Am I going to need to pay $1,400 for an extra week past the 20 days in a skilled nursing facility? But it is less expensive to have a Medicare Advantage plan. So if someone has plenty of money and they make that decision to do that, that's fine for them. And there are a lot of people who do make that decision, and it isn't wrong to do that. It's just because there are a lot of people who come in and they will write that check because they expected it. But the most come in and they don't know that they're going to have that big amount. And I know that sometimes the people selling the plans are not as forthcoming. I know when my mother was alive, the people selling the plans were trying to get her to buy them. And they were telling her that she wouldn't have any out-of-pocket cost. And I said, well, no, you know, we're keeping your Blue Cross. We're going to do that. And finally, she had them call me at work to ask. And I said, well, she would owe this amount. And they said, well, they wouldn't ask it for her to pay it right then. And I said, but she would still owe it. And that's the problem.
So do you feel like a lot of seniors are getting taken advantage of by this system?
I know that they come in and they are not aware of what they have to pay. And I have that one personal experience with my mother. But I know that when they come in, they go, well, I have Medicare. Well, your Medicare has been, you still have Medicare, yes. But you have set that aside to have a Medicare Advantage plan, which takes the place of Medicare and a supplement. So over the, 35 years, people are shocked that they owe that much. They're shocked. However, there are people who have Medicaid secondary. And when they come in with a Medicare Advantage plan, they don't pay anything. So if they have Medicaid, that is good for them. If they have money in the bank where they can pay, then that's good for them. They're okay with that. I had an aunt and an uncle that came into our facility, and my uncle, it was at the time that the out-of-pocket was $3,700, and I told him what he would owe. He sat down and wrote me the check. He expected it. So those are my personal examples.
So what advice do you give somebody, though, going in cold? What questions do we need to be asking? What red flag warning signs do you have from some of these companies? What do we need to be looking for?
I'd like to speak to that. Thank you for having us. So Medicare is complicated, number one, and I call it alphabet soup because A pays for hospitalization and B pays for outpatient and prescription drugs is Part D. And so A and B, if you're on A and B, you're on original Medicare with a supplement, and I think that's what they're talking to. And not everybody can afford that. Yes, the supplements do cost. There is no copays. And then there's Medicare C that they see on TV, Medicare Advantage. So I want to kind of clear that up. So A plus B plus D equals Medicare C, which is Medicare Advantage. And I'd say 50% are on Medicare Advantage and 50% are on Medicare supplements. And I think the question that you asked me is the same question that I get often, is tell your advisor. There are lots of great advisors out there, agents, lots of agents. It's complicated. And so we have teaching guides that we go over it. Maybe they've been on Medicare Advantage for a long time, and that's okay. But they do need to know about the out-of-pocket cost if they go to something catastrophic happens to them. I have seniors that have had out-of-pocket cost, and they're prepared for it. And there's hospital indemnity policies that help, and there's long-term care policies that will help. So insurance is for a rainy day, as long as they know. But I think that people see on TV it's zero premiums and all these extra benefits. That's very helpful to them with people with limited incomes. But with the 2022 Inflation Act, people need to be aware the annual notice of election or annual notice of change came out. September 28th was the date that they should have got something in the mail called annual notice of change. A lot of positive things have happened with Medicare for 2025, but there's some ripple effects. So if I can take a few minutes to talk about it.
Yeah, what are those ripple effects?
So first of all, one of the positive things that are happening with it is that the maximum that they'll pay for their prescription is $2,000, which this year it's $8,000. So that's good. The deductible went up to $590. And then there's only 3 phases. And the donut hole went away, which is wonderful because it was 25% of the negotiated rates. So that ripple effect from the 2000 took an effect, and it took an effect on the insurance carriers. And the insurance carriers, we've seen differences in what the maximum out of pocket is. For example, it was $6,900 for some of the carriers. Now it's $9,000 for some of the carriers. Some of the plans have gone away. Some of the prescription costs have tripled. So there's different tier levels. I know that sounds kind of high level, but that's a formulary. My background is nursing. And formularies, every Medicare Advantage plan can choose the formulary that they go with. And it may be different from one carrier to the other. Some of the plans have gone away for 2025 because of the cost. So that ripple effect is there for both Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans. So if you have a Medicare supplement and on a prescription drug plan called Part D, those plans have changed. We've seen one go from $11, the premium, to $47. And then we've seen some of the carriers drop some of their Medicare Advantage plans because it became too costly to administer that. And some of the benefits that attracted to them, over the food cost, dental, some of those things have decreased, and they just need to be aware of looking at that annual notice of election. There are a lot of great advisors out there. It's very complicated, and that's why I always like to teach. My background, I love to teach. I love to speak about it, and it's important that they bring a significant other that maybe, such as a daughter or a son, that also can hear it. So into an advisory meeting, because it is complicated. And I've had doctors come to my teaching classes, to nurses, to lawyers. It's a complicated set of rules, Medicare is.
Are there some good resources online where we can do more research on this?
Yes, Medicare.gov is a great research for you. Anybody can get on there. It's open to the public, called Medicare.gov. And put in your zip code, put in your medicines, and you can put in your county, and you can see what's out there available out there as well.
Any last piece of advice to seniors that are looking to do this? I mean, it's going to be this week where you're kind of making these decisions, right?
October 15th through December 7th.
What should we be doing? If you're a senior citizen, you're out there and you're looking for this, what is step one?
Step one is read that annual notice of change letter that came out. Yes, a lot of people get a lot of mail. Read that. See what's changed out there. Go on Medicare.gov, seek out a great advisor, and have them show it to you. We have the resources and the computers, a system to compare what you're currently on to maybe what one works best for you. And making sure your doctors are taking and the hospitals are taking your Medicare Advantage plan next year. That's really important as well. And your prescriptions are going to be covered.
Okay, good advice, Pat, Kathleen, D, Andrea. I really appreciate you guys coming in here. I know that this is it's a big topic for a lot of senior citizens, and there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of confusion around this. So I thank you guys for taking some time to come in and kind of lay it out, how you should be looking at this, what questions you should be asking. Pat, Kathleen, D, Andrea, you said Medicare.gov is a great starting place for research. Is there any other resources out there that you guys would recommend?
One thing I would say is that if they are talking with any company about a secondary policy to Medicare, that also ask about vision and the drug plan that they have, because they're pretty inexpensive to purchase. So the dental, drug, and vision.
Okay, perfect. And you have a number in case somebody wants to call?
Yes, we have some literature that I'll be glad to go over that with you, some literature at our office. If you want to call 615-933-5222.
615-933-5222. Perfect.
And Chris, if I could just speak, if they have any questions about home care benefits, they can call 615-631-3832. And if I could just mention some talking points with traditional Medicare, most doctors participate in that, so you can see a doctor anywhere in the United States. And I feel like you buy insurance, like Dee said, for catastrophic events. That's why I have car insurance. I don't expect to have a car wreck, but if I do, I want to know I've got the best coverage out there. And for my age and situation, traditional Medicare and a supplement is definitely the best fit for me.
Well, I appreciate the info, and I appreciate you guys coming in to give some time with us. Thank you so much. It is 10:23 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. It is spooky season. Don't be tricked. Let Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Rude Pro partner, treat your family with some of these specials. They're not going to ghost you if you call. I know it's kind of cheesy, but here we go. 50% off furnace inspection, 20% off any furnace repair work at time of service. This includes check, test, and start only. Additional fee for maintenance and repair work must be done at time of inspection. They have a $69 mainline camera inspection from outside clean out. You can find out if your drain pipes are clean, cracked, or clogged. And they have up to $300 ultraviolet home treatment system installation, RM2 systems only. And remember, the Beehive Club, as a Beehive member, you'll receive 3 annual tune-ups, 1 for your cooling, 1 for your heating, 1 for your plumbing, 10% discount on all repairs, priority front-of-the-line service, a $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a $1,000 max, and no overtime or holiday fees for as little as $99. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Busy Bee is your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Up ahead here on Super Talk 99.7, they got it all wrong. The man arrested as a would-be assassin at a Trump rally over the weekend says police got his claims totally wrong. And which Tennessee city has just been declared the least safe in the country? Those stories coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Which Tennessee city is the least safe?
Come on, you take a guess.
I think everybody knows.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's 10:28 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. A lot to get to. So much happening. The left is melting down. Is there a beef between the Biden and the Harris teams? It certainly seems that way. When Kamala Harris is decrying Ron DeSantis for not answering her phone calls, and Joe Biden goes on TV and says Ron DeSantis is doing a good job. Yeah, it seems like there's a rift. The Post Millennial has a story. Shade war between Kamala and Biden heats up as Election Day nears. It's a shade war. They say the friction stems from lingering frustration within Biden's camp over the president being pressured by his own party to step down and not run for re-election. And each day that goes by, you know that old man at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue gets a little bit more irritated as he sees Kamala Harris free-falling, imploding, plummeting in the polls. He's got to say, I could have done this. Axios has a story. They go a little bit more in depth, and we'll bring it to you next. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 10:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're going up to 66 today in the sunshine. We've got your forecast coming up. The man arrested at a Donald Trump rally over the weekend as a potential assassin said he's actually a Trump supporter and says claims that he's part of a sovereign citizens group are false. Vem Miller is his name. He spoke to Fox News. He was charged for having weapons in his truck while arriving at the rally, but he was also quickly released on just $5,000 bail. A major development in the Middle East, the Pentagon saying it will send an anti-missile defense system to Israel with 100 U.S. troops deployed to operate it.
The Pentagon is saying a clear message with this deployment that it's working in lockstep with Israel to help it fend off any additional possible Iranian ballistic missile strike, and that it's working with Israel to help it calibrate its response to that historic ballistic missile strike from October 1st. Over 180 bus-sized missiles fired into Israel, and more of those missiles penetrating Israel's air defenses than many here expected.
That's ABC's Matt Gutman reporting from Tel Aviv. A Tennessee city ranked by WalletHub as the least safe in the nation. WalletHub compared 200 cities, measuring the number of traffic deaths and assaults per capita, also measuring the unemployment rate and the percentage of uninsureds. It says Memphis is the least safe city, less safe than Detroit, Fort Lauderdale, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. 3 other cities also fell on the least safe list from Tennessee, and they include Knoxville, Nashville, and Chattanooga. Now, the safest city on this list was South Burlington, Vermont. Well, stocks are trading higher right now. Dow Jones Industrial's up 117. The NASDAQ is gaining 101 points, and the S&P 500 index is plus 30. That's the latest news. Weather is still to come. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
She had a terrible week. It was a terrible week for the Harris this campaign. You had Gretchen Whitmer having to apologize to the Catholics across America for mocking them with some bizarro Dorito thing on there. You had Governor Elmer Fudd out hunting and not knowing how to load his shotgun, using the wrong gun. At the same time,
Who's Governor Elmer Fudd?
Governor Walz was out there. It looked like Elmer Fudd. Be very, very quiet while hunting for rabbits.
Oh my God.
Right? So he can't load his shotgun. He's trying to appeal to hunters. He can't load the gun. He's using the wrong gun. At the same time, you have Barack Obama in Pennsylvania where he derided people who own guns. Remember, people in Pennsylvania were bitter and they clinged to guns and religion. Remember that in 2008? So they're trying to appeal to those folks at the same time while he alienates black male voters by chastising them. So they had a really tough week this week.
Really tough week for the Kamala Harris campaign. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, 1037. Yeah, tough week. Tough week last week for the Kamala campaign. Is that an understatement? I feel like that's an understatement. Terrible week. I love this guy, David J. Urban. He said, Governor Elmer Fudd, and Dana Bash said, who's Governor Elmer Fudd? Walz. That's Governor Elmer Fudd. Yeah. They're trying to win back men. They're not doing a great job about it. If you missed that Soy Boys for Harris ad that they put out, you can check it out on my Twitter page at Chris Hand on Air. Just some real dudes voting for Harris. Democrats again spent every day, every hour, every minute for years now demonizing men, demonizing masculinity, blaming men for society's issues. But now that they need them, they're going to spend a few months posing with rifles, talking about owning guns, drinking beer on TV. Everybody sees right through this, right? You see right through this. The polls show that people see right through this. I mean, Kamala's losing support with Hispanic voters, black voters, male voters. It's a free fall. Christians need to vote, though. Christians need to vote. Did you see Gretchen Whitmer mocking Catholics? She's just mocking Catholics, doing a Holy Communion with a Dorito and a podcast influencer. It was maybe one of the cringiest videos I've ever seen on the internet. Michigan Governor's Gretchen Whitmer feeds a left-wing podcaster a Dorito as if it's the Eucharist while wearing a Kamala and Walz hat. But conservatives, right? We're the weird cult. Right. Yeah. That Whitmer has apologized for that, by the way. It didn't play well. She sort of issued an apology after mocking Holy Communion with Doritos chips, noting that she would never do something to denigrate someone's faith. She provided this statement to Fox 2, which is the local Fox affiliate in Detroit. It's from Whitmer's office. The governor explained that the video in which she can be seen wearing a Harris Waltz camouflage hat and placing a Dorito chip on the tongue of a Canadian author and journalist Liz Plank was supposed to be a video about the importance of the CHIPS Act to Michigan jobs. Yeah, okay, sure. You ever notice that they're only allowed to mock Christians, right? Like they would never mock anything about Islam, right? Christians are okay; you can mock them. You're also allowed to call Jews genocidal and all those things. So that's fine. That's fine. But she issued a half-hearted apology and a deflection, saying, "No, this video is about the CHIPS Act." Where are Christians at? We need Christians to get out there and vote big time. I read a stat of something like 40% of Christians aren't going to vote. 40%? Insane. And there's also a group called Evangelicals for Harris. And they're going to war with Franklin Graham. Yeah, Evangelicals for Harris. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Evangelicals for Harris. Newsweek has this article. While giving a sermon in 1988, the Reverend Billy Graham recalled a passage from the Bible that he let a man sitting next to him on a plane read. But you must realize in the last days, the times will be full of anger. Men will become utterly self-centered and greedy for money, he said, quoting the passage. The Harris campaign has taken this sermon and put in clips of President Trump over the years. This was released by Evangelicals for Harris. They're trying to make it seem like Donald Trump is the most evil man in recorded history. He's literally Hitler. He's also slipping and won't release his medical records. But this is where we're at. They'll demonize a religion, and then at the same time they'll say, hey, Christians, you can't vote for Donald Trump. Christians need to get out there and vote for Donald Trump. But the left is melting down. You have a shade war between Biden and Harris, as the post-millennial puts it. Axios has the story that there's some tension as Election Day approaches between Harris's team and Biden's White House staff. They're reportedly under strain, according to sources who spoke with Axios. The friction stems from lingering frustration within Biden's camp over the fact that he was cooed out of the office and forced to step down and not run for re-election. And the Biden team is still supporting a Harris victory in November, but many remain uneasy about the transition from running Biden's re-election campaign to now backing a different candidate. A Harris ally told Axios that the Biden team is too much in their feelings. Too much in their feelings. There's also been concerns regarding miscommunication with event coordination and media strategy because, as you know, last Friday, Biden held an impromptu White House press conference, his first, just as Harris was about to participate in a key campaign event in the swing state of Michigan. So the TV coverage switched from her event to that of the president speaking. And then you had what was going on with Ron DeSantis. Harris criticizing Governor Ron DeSantis for not taking her phone call with the impending Hurricane Milton staring down Florida. And then Biden publicly praising DeSantis for being gracious and cooperative in handling the disaster. It does feel like Biden's counter-programming Harris, does it not? DeSantis met with Biden and accused Harris of making a political game out of the disaster in his state. He said, a source from the Harris campaign told Axios, said the White House is lacking someone in the room thinking first and foremost about how things would affect the campaign. Maybe they are thinking about how things would affect the campaign. Maybe, just maybe, the Biden team says, you know what? Screw the Harris team. Maybe. It certainly seems that way. And some have wondered if these examples of miscommunication is actually because of lingering resentment, and if these examples of miscommunication are actually far more intentional. I feel like it does seem intentional. And these rumors have been persisting for a while since Biden decided to put on a Trump hat in front of reporters in Pennsylvania. But the strained relationship, as the Post-Millennial puts it, is also evident as several Biden aides have left the White House to join the Harris campaign. This has caused some within Biden's circle to feel that those departing are being labeled as disloyal. Everyone from the president on down knows how important the election is, and we always anticipated a number of staff would want to transition from the administration to the campaign for the final stretch, a White House official admitted to Axios. But speculation has persisted that Biden, along with his wife Jill, who's actually really in charge, Jill's in charge, but Biden and Jill are harboring resentment over leaders within the Democratic Party for withdrawing their support in his reelection effort. Notably, when Biden first announced his resignation, he did not initially endorse Harris as his successor in his resignation letter. His endorsement came later on Twitter, and that fueled those rumors of bitterness and resentment. And there are also reports that Joe and Jill remain upset with people like Nancy Pelosi over how the decision to step down was handled. They're saying that Jill feels betrayed by the series of events and how they have unfolded. I understand. They cooed him. They stabbed him in the back. They got rid of him. When he was no longer going to be the guy to push them over the goal line, they got rid of Joe Biden. And now it looks like Kamala Harris isn't going to be able to get them there either. She's dropping in the polls. You have Trump catching up in just about every single poll. And I say catching up because we know how the media manufactures these polls to make Kamala Harris seem like she's doing a great job. Well, it doesn't look that way anymore. It doesn't look that way anymore. And if you think about Joe Biden, of course he's going to feel resentment. Remember, they chose Hillary over Joe. Hillary lost. They didn't want Joe to be the nominee in 2020. Joe won that election, albeit through some very sketchy means, right? So they've told him he couldn't do it twice now. They were wrong the first time. He was right the second time. And the third time they say you can't do it. And now he looks at Kamala's poll numbers. He's like, guys, this is terrible. It's terrible. Former RNC chair Reince Priebus was on ABC over the weekend. And he said, listen, for the first time in 32 years, the Republicans could win straight up.
Time in 32 years in this poll, it shows that Republicans are beating Democrats straight up. When you ask people the generic ballot in 32 years, it shows that Donald Trump's doing better with black voters, Hispanic voters, off the charts. But what the most important thing is, what happened last week is that what was working with female voters with Kamala Harris was that there was some feeling of joy in the air. Well, that joy is gone. She had a terrible week. She picked a pointless fight with Ron DeSantis. She was losing in the Sun Belt. And she tried to recover by going on The View, which a lot of women watch. She went on The View. You talked about it earlier. And she wanted to clarify the two most important issues that are facing these two candidates, the economy and immigration. And she bombed like Rory at the U.S. Open. And she went out there and said there was nothing she would do that would be different than Joe Biden. And she created a campaign commercial for Donald Trump.
Yep.
And so she's trying to recover. There is no joy in the air. And everybody knows it. And it's obvious that there is a leak in the balloon here in the Kamala Harris campaign.
Yeah, that is obvious. I love how Martha Raddatz tries to clean it up. Well, he created a few of his own, too, this weekend. It's like, really, Martha? Where? I'm looking for these viral moments, and the ones that they use against Trump, I tend to look at and go, I'm already voting for the guy. You don't have to sell me on him. But where are these viral moments that Trump has created that are going to be campaign commercials for Kamala? They're nowhere to be found. Kamala Harris, on the flip side, she consistently makes campaign commercials for Trump. Every time she opens her mouth. And last week, they decided that the best course of action was a media blitz. It turns out that was not the best course of action for Kamala Harris. On the main issues, the economy, the border, Trump is smashing her in the polls. Absolutely smashing her. But they'll call him a threat to democracy. They'll call him literally Hitler. They'll call him every name under the sun because they have no substance to their arguments. They have no substance to their policy. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better for the Kamala Harris team. And I think the only way it gets better is if she gets some time off post November 5th. We're going to go in on what is happening on the southern border when we get back and what J.D. Vance had to say to Martha Raddatz. This has been going viral everywhere, and it should. Because when Martha Raddatz pushed back on J.D. Vance, he did what I think essentially everyone in America does when they hear these left-wing, mainstream media, political commentators talking. He laughed in her face. He laughed right at her, as he should. I'll play you that clip when we get back. It's 10:51 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Hurricane Milton still hurting Floridians. Rescues still underway. Got details coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is 10:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So Donald Trump announced on Friday when he was in Aurora, Colorado, Operation Aurora, which he said is going to be used to really go after these illegal aliens. And he further called for the death penalty for illegal aliens who kill Americans and police officers. I say yes, thank you, thank you. Trump began saying the effort was on behalf of those who have lost their lives to violence caused by gang members from Tren de Aragua and illegal aliens who have come over the border to do harm to American communities. He brought a local resident on stage, shared footage of her home in Aurora, notably her door, because her door, it's got some damage. It's got some damage. But he said to expedite the removals of these savage gangs, he'll invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, and he'll use it to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. So this has been a big topic of conversation. J.D. Vance was on This Week on ABC on Sunday, and Martha Raddatz tried to fact-check him in real time. This is what it sounded like.
We're limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be.
He's right. And his facial expression says it all. Martha, only a handful? That's your cell? Oh, don't worry, guys. Don't worry, guys. It's only a handful of apartment complexes that have been taken over by illegal aliens. Just a handful. Wait until you see how ABC is framing this on their network news page, because they got a headline that doesn't tell the whole story. Plus, I'll play you the rest of the clip with J.D. Vance when we get back. Only a handful, Martha. Wait, no big deal, guys, right? I'll play you the rest of that exchange after the news with Ken Weaver, which starts right now on Super Talk.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Central Florida coping with the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. Rising floodwaters still forcing evacuations in Lake County, where county appraiser Carrie Baker says the storm impacted nearly 100,000 properties in some way.
We're probably talking 30 to 40 homes, so we're just majorly impacted. And there's a little bit of an unknown, and that is in the Astor area. We mentioned the flooding. There's homes that we haven't been able to get to.
Floodwaters forcing out residents in Emerald Lakes in Claremont. No lives lost in that county. That is the good news. Tennessee U.S. Senator Bill Hagerty says FEMA's been too slow to step up to the plate. Talking with Johnson City TV station Channel 11, Hagerty blames FEMA for setting up in remote locations where people can't get help and being understaffed for the dire situation. The death toll in Tennessee stands at 17. Vice President Kamala Harris today rolls out a plan her campaign claims is aimed at helping black men get ahead economically. The latest ABC News Ipsos poll showing her support softening among men of color. ABC News political director Rick Klein for what he thinks.
Donald Trump's not going to win black men. He's not going to win a majority of them. But if he doesn't lose as badly as he has in the past, if he's able to win a quarter of them, that's a huge difference. And it makes a difference in some of the most important battlegrounds. Think about a Georgia. Think about a North Carolina or a Pennsylvania or a Wisconsin. You don't have to do much to change the numbers when you're talking about a final vote that might be 10, 20, 30, 40,000 votes.
A Tennessee city has been ranked by Wallet Hub as the least safe in the nation. Wallet Hub compared 200 cities, measuring the number of traffic deaths and assaults per capita, measured the unemployment rate and percentage of uninsureds. It says Memphis is the least safe city, less safe than Detroit. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. 3 other cities also fell on the least safe side. That includes Knoxville, Nashville, and Chattanooga. The safest city was South Burlington, Vermont. And if you hear a little one coughing this autumn, could be more serious than just a virus. Sherry Preston with more on the rising number of whooping cough cases nationwide.
ABC News medical contributor Dr. Darian Sutton says whooping cough can often start as symptoms of a cold.
Low-grade fever, runny nose, a mild cough for maybe 1 to 2 weeks, and then that progresses into the second stage.
That second stage can sometimes leave children gasping for air, which is where the name whooping cough comes from. Tiny babies, however, may have no cough at all, just apnea when they actually stop breathing. The best way to prevent all this, get your child vaccinated. The CDC says people didn't during the pandemic, leading to the current spike in cases.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.1106 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Happy Columbus Day, everyone. Yeah, we do Columbus Day on the Chris Hand Show. That is what do they call it now?
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Did you guys get your Columbus Day shopping done?
It was more expensive than last year's Columbus Day. I know that. I wish that we still had the day off so that way we could have those slew of stories like the most expensive Columbus Day barbecue in history, right? Because we've been getting that every Labor Day, every Memorial Day for about 3 years now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This is the most expensive Columbus Day on record.
Yeah. But, inflation is ticking down.
It's ticking down. Things are still going up, just less fast.
Yeah.
That's how that works. I saw a meme. I posted on my Instagram page. Jack Posobiec posted it. It's Mayas or Aztecs, something, one of those.
Mayans.
Mayans. They're doing a human sacrifice and they're holding up the heart. And then the conquistadors are coming in. It says, oh, look, here comes the far right. Happy Columbus Day, everyone. Happy Columbus Day. We were talking about the border. This is one of the biggest issues that Donald Trump is winning on, that and the economy. As we touched on a moment ago, it's the most expensive Columbus Day ever. The border is the biggest issue. 60% of Americans say Harris hasn't explained her immigration plan. I would argue that's by design. Her immigration plan is mass amnesty and newcomers. The proof is in the pudding. And as you know, Joe Biden loves his pudding. We've seen this over and over and over again. The number one issue is the border. It has to be. It has to be. Donald Trump mentioned this at his rally in Arizona yesterday. The number one issue is the destruction of our country and what's happened at the border.
But I think that the number one issue they have down is the economy and inflation, and I agree they're horrible issues. But I think the number one issue is the destruction of our country, what's happened at the border. I really think that's actually the number one issue.
Yep.
And I don't care what a poll says, and it's close anyway, but I don't care what a poll says. It's the destruction of a country. What were they thinking? Who wants to have this? Who would allow this to happen, where we have murderers, drug dealers, people from mental institutions and insane asylums? Who would allow this to happen to our country?
Who would allow this to happen to our country? Well, the radical left would. And if we had an honest press in this country, they would be covering it a bit more honestly, but they don't. We actually have a press that covers for the radical left. We have Martha Raddatz over the weekend talking to J.D. Vance about what's happening in Aurora, Colorado, where Donald Trump was on Friday, and the migrants taking over the apartment complexes, the Tren de Aragua gang members taking over apartment complexes. And Martha Raddatz tried to fact-check J.D. Vance on This Week, ABC, yesterday, and she said the incidents were limited to only a handful of apartment complexes.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns.
A handful.
Handful of problems.
A handful. How many apartment complexes are you willing to sacrifice in order to get Kamala Harris elected, Martha Raddatz? How many? Only a handful. That's not a big deal, right?
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs.
The way he responds, he has just... What do they call it? Like an S-eating grin? You know, it's ear to ear. Only a handful, Martha? Only a handful. No matter how much you hate the mainstream media, I don't think it's enough. I know you've seen that on socials. Everybody says it, right? But when you hear things like this, it just rings even truer. No matter how much you hate the mainstream media, it's not enough. Only a handful of apartment complexes have been taken over, JD. Only a handful by illegal alien gangs. That's the angle Martha Raddatz wants to take on ABC. That's the angle.
And Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again.
Bingo. Bingo. You want to nitpick every little thing Trump says, that's fine. But apartment complexes are being taken over by gangs. That's not up for dispute. It's just not. It's not up for dispute.
And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Yeah, I'm glad he did, too. I'm glad he does call this stuff out. You know, we have millions and millions and millions of dollars for illegal aliens in this country, yet we don't have anything for American citizens. Weird. But it's only a handful of apartment complexes, Martha Raddatz says. But listen to how ABC is framing this, okay? On their website, abcnews.com, the worldwide leader in news, ABC News. It's actually mind-blowing. This is how the headline reads about their exchange. You ready for this? You might want to be sitting down. That exchange between Martha Raddatz and J.D. Vance, this is how ABC News wants to pose that exchange. The headline reads, Vance stands by Trump's false claims about Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado. Vance stands by Trump's false claims about Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado. No matter how much you hate the mainstream media, I don't think it's enough. Vance stands by false claims. Martha Raddatz, it's only a handful. It's only a handful of apartment complexes, guys. Get over it. Get over it. But Trump was in Arizona. He was in Prescott Valley holding a rally. You know what Arizona understands a little bit more than other states? It's the border. It's the border. And there was an Arizona voter on CBS's Face the Nation over the weekend talking about that border.
Well, my decision is I live right on the border in Yuma, Arizona. And I know in the last 3.5 years, we have had just horrible, horrible problems in Yuma with a lot of illegal immigration coming through. Our economy is awful. Yuma's unemployment is 16%. So the economy is a big factor as well. Just a combination of things. Our groceries have gone up. Just everything has just really gone downhill in the last 3.5 years for us in Yuma and Arizona completely.
Yeah, and she says, "Wait, we have so much illegal aliens coming into Yuma. It's really making the place dangerous." You think about the crime that comes with the illegal immigration. These problems used to be isolated in the border states. It used to be isolated in Arizona and in Texas and in Southern California. But now, Lake and Riley, that was Georgia. Rachel Marin, that wasn't in a border state. Every state's a border state now. This is why Donald Trump is gaining so much momentum. Because Donald Trump isn't afraid to go out there, get on stage, and say something like this.
You see what's going on with the cities? New York has a $3 billion bill. I always heard New York is low on funds. A $3 billion bill, and the federal government's not going to pick it up. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer.
You hear the crowd in Arizona. You hear how they respond. Trump is unafraid to say what needs to be said.
They kill an American citizen or a law enforcement officer.
Death penalty. Death penalty. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sign me up to support that. They shouldn't be here in the first place. The left can't go on and say anything like this. They want to call them newcomers. They're voters, right? They're future voters when Kamala gets her amnesty, when Tim Walz gets his amnesty plans done. That's what they want. But Kamala, on the flip side, she likes this. And Trump makes that point in Arizona yesterday. She welcomes these people. She flies them in. And anyone who supports this can't be president of the United States.
Anyone who would import criminal gangs to occupy America cannot ask to be president. Anyone who orchestrated an invasion of America cannot lead America. Kamala Harris's reign of terror ends the day I take the oath of office.
And in Prescott, Arizona, Prescott Valley, they support that. See, Donald Trump actually understands what real Americans are thinking on the ground. The left doesn't. Or maybe they do, and they want to lie and gaslight anyway. But Trump understands. 60% of Americans say Harris hasn't explained her immigration plan. I would argue that she has. The plan is mass amnesty. But people don't support that. Not at all. People don't support weak southern border. They don't support open borders. They don't want a handful of apartment complexes to be taken over by violent gang members. And because of that, Donald Trump picked up another massive endorsement yesterday in Prescott Valley, Arizona. The National Border Council, the union for the U.S. Border Patrol, has officially endorsed Donald J. Trump. Officially. This is them yesterday in Arizona.
America, I have a message for you. If we allow Border Czar Harris to win this election, every city, every community in this great country is going to go to hell. The untold millions of people, unvetted, who she has allowed into this country that are committing murders, rapes, robberies, burglaries, and every other crime will continue to put our country in peril. Only one man can fix that. That is Donald J. Trump.
Again, that's the endorsement from the National Border Patrol Council. That's the Border Patrol's union.
He has always stood with the men and women who protect this border, who put their lives on the line for the country. A man who knows about putting his life on the line for what is right. Yep. This November, we have a choice to make. Continue the chaos. Allow the criminal cartels to control the border, to allow drugs and fentanyl across our country, or put an end to it once and for all. On behalf of the 16,000 men and women represented by the National Border Patrol Council, we strongly support and endorse Donald J. Trump for President of the United States.
That's a big endorsement coming out of Prescott Valley, Arizona yesterday from the National Border Patrol Council endorsing President Trump. You can't blame them. He said if we don't get Trump in there, every single state and major city in this country is going to go to hell. I think you could make the argument that they're on their way currently. Under this last 3.5 years of Biden and Harris, every single state, every single city has become a border state and a border city. And it's got to stop. It's got to change. And it's only going to change with one man on November 5th, Donald J. Trump. My name is Chris Hand, and I got to tell you about my friends at the Glock Store. If you're thinking about protecting yourself or your family, you got to be ready. You got to train, and the place to do it is at the Glock Store. That's where I do my training. I talk about the Glock Store all the time. It's actually no surprise because I love the guys at the Glock Store, and there's a reason. Not only do I train there, not only do I shop there, and not only do I learn there, but they're always doing something fun. They always have something different going on at the Glock Store, and it just keeps getting better and better. All October long, they're having their own version of a spook house, a haunted house, only it's a shoot house, and it's a lot of fun. So what they're going to do is it's basically going to be a haunted house shooting range. And if you do it, and you do it well, you might just win a $1,000 custom Glock for being the best shot of the month. It only costs about $30 to run through this course, and that includes 20 rounds of ammo. And to level the playing field, everyone will use the same model Glock handgun, which is also included. I can't wait. I'm going for a training session next week. I'm going to run through this course myself. There's a lot of reasons we love the Glock store. This is definitely one of them. And to make it even a bit more convenient, the Glock store is now open until 7 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. You got to go check out my friends at the Glock store, whether you need to shop or you need to train. It's the Glock store. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, online at glockstore.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Well, Democrats rolling out Bill Clinton on the campaign trail today, and another launch in the race to space. We'll tell you about it at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Nothing says we're not panicked like breaking glass in case of emergency with Bill Clinton, right? And why would they be worried? Why would they be worried? Maybe it's because Kamala's running out of gas at the finish line. Maybe that's it. I mean, listen how they're talking about her on the Today Show this morning and her polling numbers.
I mean, the top line is the 5-point advantage that Kamala Harris had in our last poll is gone. What's behind that shift?
Yeah, exactly, Savannah. I mean, just look at them side by side and you can see it. Remember that poll we took a month ago that you see here? It was just after that first Trump-Harris debate. Since then, we've had the VP debate. There have been some campaign activities, some interviews, some things that have changed in that time. I think this might be the biggest for Harris. We just asked the basic image perception people have. Is it positive or negative negative of these candidates. The Trump number's always been somewhere in this territory. In fact, this is a little bit high for him, believe it or not, 43% positive. But look at Harris, 43 positive, 49 negative. The significance, we polled this a month ago. She was 48% positive and 45 negative. She was above water, as they say. That's completely reversed. It now looks very similar to Trump's. That's a pretty big shift when you're talking about a race this close. And then there's the weight of the fact she's the VP in an unpopular administration. We asked about President Biden's policies. Are they helping or hurting your family? Just a quarter of voters said they're helping. Nearly half said they're hurting. And then here's the interesting twist. We also asked folks, think back to when Donald Trump was president. Did his policies help or hurt your family? And look at the difference. 44% helping, 31 hurting. Trump's, the retrospective, you would say, opinion of Trump's presidency among voters, arguably higher now than when he was president.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of negative results from the Biden-Harris administration. It's a lot better to look at this in hindsight, right? Hindsight's 2020. We were better off under Trump. Americans are noticing that. The favorability of Kamala Harris, it's beginning to look a little upside down for her. Panic. There's panic all over the Harris campaign. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. Gail in Bradyville has been waiting for a minute. Gail, thank you for holding. You want to talk about Kamala Harris? Gail. All right, let's go to Mike on the border. Mike in the borough, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Hey, man, how are you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good, good. Hey, I just, my wife and a lot of other people have showed me that they have this sheriff's app. We live in Rutherford County, and they look at it all the time, and he's kind of wanting to challenge everybody else to do it too. If you are not very informed about what's going on about the border and all the people coming over here, if you will look at your own city and county that you live in right now, if you go on there and you look at all the arrests that's been made for this week, one out of 10 will be an American, meaning a black or a white, but they're American. All the others are, I don't want to say just Hispanic, but we know everybody's coming in through the Hispanic border, but I mean, they're everything. You can't even pronounce the name of all these people are getting arrested. It's driving our police. The reason we don't have good police protection is because the time's being wasted on taking care of all this business. So you have the means to go and look up what's going on in your own town. And Rutherford County is a great little town. Murfreesboro is a great little city. And if it's going on here, just think about the rest of the world.
Yep.
And that's all I want to say.
What's the name of that app again, Mike?
It's the sheriff's. What we have here in Rutherford County is called the sheriff's app.
Okay, I'll check it out, man. I appreciate it. And I will say, just because it's a Hispanic name doesn't mean they're not an American citizen. But what happened when those people were looting with all the Hispanic names out after Hurricane Helene in eastern Tennessee? We looked at all the names and said, that's a little suspicious. And then the next day it was like, oh, yeah, by the way, they're all illegal aliens. Yeah. Well, this is why Trump gets the support of the Border Patrol Union. Harris has picked up other federal union support. She got the IRS, so she got that one. It's interesting. I'll take more of your calls on the way. Plus, there's a rumor online about Tim Walz. This one's a doozy. This rumor about Tim Walz could be the end of Tim Walz. I'll tell you about it next. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like we got a crash blocking the right shoulder in South Nashville, 24 eastbound at Murfreesboro Pike. Full forecast in 5 minutes. It's 22 days until Election Day, and the Democrats rolling out former President Clinton in Columbus, Georgia, to stump for Vice President Kamala Harris today.
Look for somebody in a MAGA cap to take a picture with. But don't forget, they'll be better off if you win. And you won't be better off if they win.
Well, polls don't show that. According to the latest Ipsos, ABC News Ipsos poll, voters trust former President Trump more than Harris to handle the economy, which is one of the number one issues. And among those who say the economy is getting worse, and most do, 3/4 of them say they prefer Trump. The search continues for the people behind a deadly shooting near TSU in the Hadley Park Community Center in Nashville. Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac says one man died, 9 others were hurt, including children.
Metro police say 24-year-old Von Quay Johnson was shot and killed in that shooting, and 9 others were injured after a group of 2 people were shooting at each other from across Jefferson Street. This happened shortly after TSU's homecoming parade ended. And among those who were injured, a 12-year-old girl and 2 14-year-olds were shot, but they are expected to survive. Again, this happened minutes after the TSU homecoming parade had wrapped up and the crowd was beginning to thin out. Police are working to identify the shooters, and they believe 2 of the suspects are in the hospital right now. Detectives are reviewing surveillance footage to piece together what happened.
And the race to space. NASA's Europa Clipper has just launched a 5.5-year journey to reach the planet Jupiter. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's 11:33 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand here for my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. I get paid to endorse Paul, but I don't get paid to be a client. I'm a client because I trust Paul and the education that he provides. Now, for you, healthcare may be one of the biggest expenses you'll face in retirement. Heck, for a lot of us, healthcare will be one of the biggest expenses we face in retirement. And there's so many different Medicare options. Making the wrong choice can be costly. Very, very costly. So Paul Winkler's bringing in Medicare expert Christine Mather from the State Health Insurance Assistance Program to help explain this complicated part of retirement. And they're doing it through a practical workshop that's going to cover all the core aspects of Medicare, what it is, what it covers, what it doesn't, what it costs, and how to enroll. So they're going to talk about the long-term health care and how to best take care of your health throughout retirement. There are a lot of different Medicare plans, but many have hidden problems. Some agents can be biased depending on which providers they sell for. You need to understand Medicare for yourself. What's the difference between supplemental and advantage plans? What are the pros and cons? Which one is right for you? Discuss Medicare with an unbiased source from the state of Tennessee and be confident you're getting the straight facts. Sign up for the workshop today at paulwinkler.com and then click on the webinars tab. That's paulwinkler.com. Click on the webinars tab.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
11:38 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, and Instagram at Chris Hand on air. You can listen to the show wherever you go on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app. You can watch us on Super Talk TV, which is on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and the podcasts are always available. In case you missed something, you want to hear it again on Apple and Spotify. It's been a couple weeks since I've done the show, so I'm a little rusty.
A little rusty, but not bad.
A little rusty. It's been a wild week that I missed. Kamala's in free fall, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better for their campaign anytime soon. There's a crazy story going around. I don't know if you pay attention to Twitter. You pay attention to Twitter? What's happening on Twitter?
You know I don't have Twitter.
You got to get it. X. The kids are calling it X.
X.
The X. Murphy calls it the X machine. Hey, there's Murphy. He's walking through.
Look at that.
Still got long hair. So the story is wild. It's wild. Essentially, there's a Twitter account, and this individual is claiming that he has information that he received from an anonymous source that Tim Walz, the VP hopeful, sexually assaulted a child. Yep, you heard me right. Now, I don't know what to do with this information. I just see it going viral on the internet. I don't know if it's true. I think we take it with a grain of salt for the time being. But there's some certain aspects of this that are very, very interesting. So it was August 1st, 2024, when this Twitter account received their first tip from a now adult who claims to have information on Tim Walz. He said he initially gave this DM no mind. He gave the person his email address to send some information. He got the initial email before Tim Walz was selected as VP, and he kind of brushed it off. He said like many others, he thought Shapiro was going to be the VP pick, so he didn't see how relevant this would be. He digs into it and finds out that there's actually a lot here. And so he takes the steps to email the VP account and the Walz account and ask them about this. So he sends an email to the VP account of the United States, putting her on notice that Tim Walz brought a child to an Indigo Girls concert. It was at that Indigo Girls concert that this person who's dropping a tip says, during the concert, he felt a little sleepy. Tim Walz was saying, "You're okay. You know, you're a little bit awkward. Don't worry about it. I think you're gay." And then during the concert, the child began to feel sleepy. Tim Walz is rubbing the back. And then they get home and some sexual stuff happens at Tim Walz's residence. Now, when this information is received, this person still says he's not fully in on this being real. But he emails the VP of the United States account, so that way it's sealed in the records, right? The first email he sent was just about the Indigo Girls concert. Tim Walz taking a child, to an Indigo Girls concert in 1995. 7 to 10 days after the email to the VP of the United States, putting her on notice that Tim Walz brought a child to an Indigo Girls concert, a story drops in the online publication Them. And the title in that says, Tim Walz and his wife Gwen took a gay student to an Indigo Girls concert in the 90s. This is 7 to 10 days after the email was originally sent about the Indigo Girls concert. This story drops. And it confirms what that individual was telling this Twitter account, Black Insurrectionist, that this concert did happen. This child did go to the concert with Tim Walz. Now, in the email that he sent to the VP account, he mentioned nothing about sexual abuse. He just mentioned the concert. And he says that this is their way of getting out in front of it. It certainly does seem like Tim Walz was grooming someone and very well could be a pedophile if this pans out to be true. There are other Twitter accounts saying this is bait. Don't buy into it. All this is bait, like prominent conservative accounts saying this is bait. But this is gaining a lot of steam online. A lot of steam online. Again, it's from a Twitter account called Black Insurrectionists. He's got a pretty big following, almost 350,000. And he says, last night I was given a statement from the victim of Tim Walz to release this morning. I must tell you, the victim has never told me of his intent to bring Tim Walz to court. I assume this means trying to seek legal recourse if possible. I have also seen that I was doxxed for now the fourth time last night. Once again, the address posted with my image was my neighbor's house. So this guy's getting a lot of heat for this. But there's a statement from the alleged victim. It says, I've decided to make a public statement regarding the relationship between myself and Tim Walz. I also want to make it very clear that I was not the only victim of Tim Walz. I am hoping that others will come forward. I know of at least one other person who has come forward and has not received the publicity that I am now receiving. I want to give you some of the places that I went with Tim Walz over the course of the time I was abused and give you some descriptive information of Tim Walz's body that may be helpful in my claims. I went to 2 concerts with Tim Walz. Indigo Girls in July of 1995. I attended a country concert in Omaha with Tim Walz, Alabama. I was one of the students who accompanied Tim Walz and others on his trip to China. When Tim Walz received his DUI, it was after an evening spent with me. I fully expect that Tim Walz is going to retaliate against me and possibly my family. He has become a powerful individual, and I can tell you from experience that Tim Walz is an extremely angry individual when he is challenged on any subject or he is perceived to lose control of anything. I know of at least 2 other students in the time that Tim Walz spent in Nebraska that were taken to concerts and other events. In fact, Gwen Walz has made statements that she attended the Indigo Girls concert with myself and Tim. That was not true. It is my belief to this day that Gwen Walz was with another student at the time at the same concert. But I can assure you she was not at the concert with me and Tim. But that being said, Tim Walz has a raised scar on his chest. I recall a Chinese symbol tattoo on his upper thigh. I remember that he explained to me what it meant, but I do not recall at this time. I also remember a small scar on his left arm that was more like a soft burn. Of course, most people know he has a hearing problem. It is my understanding that this has been corrected. I will be engaging an attorney and will be bringing Mr. Walz to a court of law if possible. I will be seeking full legal remedies against Tim Walz. My relationship with Tim Walz stopped being physical in 1996, but we remained in contact until 1999. I've decided that I will be contacting media members through my attorney and will give a public come forward and challenge Tim Walz if that is the route my attorney would like to go. Many people will attack my claims. Many will doubt my claims. Tim Walz and I know the truth. Between the ages of 14 and 18, Tim Walz was a part of my life, and it was a relationship that was unhealthy and affected my life in some of the worst ways possible. There's a lot more graphic allegations to this. If you want to dig through the Twitter thread, it's on my account, @ChrisHandOnAir. Again, there are prominent conservative accounts that are saying this is bait. Don't take the bait. Take all of this with a grain of salt. And that could be the case. But it's gaining a lot of steam online, and I want to let you know that we're keeping an eye on it, and we'll bring any updates as they become available. It wouldn't shock me one bit if this was true. It wouldn't. I wouldn't be shocked one bit. But time will tell, and this person says that they're going to be coming forward with their attorney very, very soon. Could this be the October surprise that we were thinking was going to happen? I don't know. This would be a hell of an October surprise. And if it's true, my thoughts and prayers for the victim and his family. I mean, it's a tough thing to deal with when you're a kid, man. No kid should have to deal with that, ever. And if this is true, that this is the running mate of Kamala Harris, this is what he did during his time as a teacher in Nebraska, it's disgusting, and he should be in jail. It's 11:48 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 11:54 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Murphy walks in here. He says, I had it on good authority that you quit.
That's what I was told. Right.
What's up, man?
Quit, fired, something or another. What's going on, Chris Hand? It's been a month of Sundays.
Yeah.
How are you?
I told Mandis they should have dropped all my imaging to really confuse the audience.
Just welcome back to WTN. No, welcome back to the Chris Hand Show.
Change is not good.
No,
according
I'm back.
to many.
Did not quit.
Well,
Still
that's
rocking.
good. Rocking and rolling 3 weeks and 1 day until we reach the pinnacle of this election season. I don't like saying it's election day anymore because I want to encourage people to vote as early as possible because we need to embrace that because that's the way we're doing it now. But, man, oh, man, this should be an exciting – and it's about to get to be a desperate 3 weeks.
You can smell the desperation.
It's already started.
You can smell the cope in the seeds when Kristen Welker says to Mike Johnson – well, what about Trump's cholesterol levels?
Well, and Kamala Harris is now rolling out her game plan to win back black male voters by saying, "Hey, we'll give you weed."
Dude, weed.
Weed's good because what a way to win over a voting bloc by stereotyping them in the most negative way fashion. Because we all know that all black people like weed.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and so if you we'll legalize weed. Will that get you to vote for me?
Please vote.
That's kind of the idea. Please clap, right? That's kind of the idea. But and did you hear where she's going? You might have talked about this. I don't know. Did you hear where she's going Wednesday?
I did. I haven't talked about it yet. I mean,
it's about the best that we're going to hope we're going to get. But I know that this guy will ask the questions and try to get answers. So
you know their first pick had to be Cavuto.
All right. Who is the most Trump-hating person on the Fox News staff?
Yeah.
Because we're not going anywhere near News Nation or Newsmax or certainly they're not going to talk to Chris Hand or the Chris Hand Show.
I would welcome it.
I would welcome it as well. But if you've not heard, yes, they're going to be on Brett Baer on Fox News. She is going to be doing a sit-down interview with Fox News coming up Wednesday evening. I actually thought that Bill Whitaker did a good job. It's amazing where we've gotten to in 2024. So Bill Whitaker of 60 Minutes gets a sit down with Kamala Harris. He quietly presses her on very important issues like the immigration issue. Well, wait a minute, but this is happening. Well, hold on a second. You didn't answer the question. And in response to one of their journalists at CBS News actually doing good journalism, they edited it and spiked it.
Yeah.
So management looked at good journalism and said, we can't have any of that around here.
Well, and then the editorial choice to have a never-Trumper rhino Republican on the very next week to lambaste Trump a little bit more.
Right.
What are you guys doing? And they won't release the transcript from the interview.
They won't release the transcript because they heavily edited the transcript, and it's obviously a bad look for Kamala Harris, and management over at CBS News wants Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States. I just find all of this dynamic amazing. And then they ding Donald Trump for not wanting to go on 60 Minutes. The same 60 Minutes that 4 years ago sat there and lied to his face and lied to the face of the United States of America about the Hunter Biden laptop.
Yep.
Well, I'll go on your network again when I get an apology for what you did to me 4 years ago. How about that?
Yeah, I want it to be with Leslie, please.
Yeah. I mean, it feels good. I think the momentum is going in the right direction. I'm just very, very nervous about what they're going to pull over the next 3 weeks.
What do you think they're going to try?
I don't know, but they're going to try. Well, they're going to try anything and everything in their power to try to obfuscate and confuse the voters and attempt to depress the clear lead that Donald Trump has moving into the battleground states over the next 3 weeks. They're going to do anything and everything in their power to do that. And I don't know what that entails.
I feel like they have no gas left. If what they're going for now is Donald Trump is hiding. What? He was in Aurora, Colorado, Prescott Valley, and then he was in Coachella. He's going to be doing an interview with Joe Rogan. Could you imagine Kamala Harris doing an interview with Joe Rogan?
I could. Well, I mean, outside of the possibility of getting some weed, no, I could not imagine her doing it. Well, I mean, it's throwing everything against the wall, seeing what sticks. I mean, the best example that I've heard, and I heard it last week, and I wish I could remember who said it on the X Machine, or I'd give them credit, but it's like if you're a football fan, it's like you go into a game and you're a fan of a running football team. What they do really well is run the football. They're really good at running the football. and they get behind by 20 points, and it's now the fourth quarter, and they have to pass. It just gets worse.
Yep.
Their only possibility, their only hope was to hide her and run a campaign similar to 2020 and hope nobody noticed and hope that the hatred of Donald Trump. Nobody is voting for Kamala Harris. There are a lot of people that are lying to you. You are either voting for Donald Trump and voting for the future of America, or you hate Trump so much you will not vote for him.
Yeah.
But I don't know anybody that's actually excited. Well, what does she believe in besides abortion on demand? I mean, honestly.
Dude, weed.
That's a good one.
That's pretty much it.
That's a good one.
What do you got coming up on the Murphy Show?
Well, we're going to obviously dissect a lot of what went down over the weekend. I know you talked about J.D. Vance and Martha Raddatz, which was absolutely fabulous. What a takedown. It is the textbook takedown. But I'm going to start by asking how people feel. I'm going to open up the phone lines in the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour. How do you feel 3 weeks and 1 day before Election Day?
I'm feeling pretty good.
I'm feeling pretty good, too.
Murphy's in next. It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 W.